Hello, everyone. This is your host, Susan Rosen, and my guest today is Dr. Diana Salazar, excuse me, who is the way she describes herself as an energetic chiropractor, and she will tell us more about exactly what that means. Specializing in gentle adjustments, proactive postural training, and intuitive healing. I especially like that last part. Her goal is to help people feel better and learn how to take care of their unique bodies. Excuse me, allergies. She blends Reiki. I never know if I'm pronouncing that right. Is that right? Okay, good. Phew. Energetic breathwork with manual therapy and exercises to create an introspective mind, body, spirit experience. Love that. She graduated with her doctorate in chiropractic in 2017 from Southern California University of Health Sciences. Is that like USC?
No, but it is in Southern California. So,
okay.
Yeah.
She is licensed in New York State and practices in Manhattan. Love Manhattan. Her manual therapy techniques include active release technique, diversified HVLA adjustments, activator, that I know, pelvic blocking, low level 1 laser, kinesiology, taping, and myofascial release. Ooh. She is also certified in Webster technique and Reiki. And now you can explain what all of these things are and why they're helpful.
There's a lot of things.
Yes.
So the first thing is definitely chiropractic for me. And I really love chiropractic mostly because it's holistic. It's there's no surgery happening. It's very quick as well. Like people feel relief very quickly. And then, of course, it's really creating a lot of mobility and a less stiffness. So that's what's really important, especially in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, all throughout that whole realm, is creating better motion. And chiropractic really does that.
I know I've always loved working with chiropractors.
Oh, good.
Afterwards, you're just like, oh, can I go to sleep now?
Yeah, exactly. I always
energized at the same time, but it's kind of like, okay, I'm
Yeah, completely. It makes you feel nice and zen in a way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I also think that there is a stereotype out there. I don't know whether people got it from television or movies or something, that they're always cracking bones and that they're doing all these weird movements and
Completely. Yeah.
And it's not like that at all. At least not the people I've been to.
Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. I really like that part because it's chiropractic kind of lets you create whatever it is that you want it to be for you and what feels really good for you as a person. So for me, in my own body, I really enjoy it when a chiropractor listens to me a lot. And when they feel like they're like pausing, they're really detail oriented, they're really paying attention to what my body needs. And for me, it's gentle, it's quick, it's comfortable, it's like very, sorry for the New York City sound. There's probably going to be fire trucks happening. And so, yeah, so chiropractic can 100% be like cracking in different places, or it can be very gentle. It can be very comfortable. It can be the activator, like you said, you're used to.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I always ask whenever someone who comes to me has already done chiropractic, I always ask, like, what does that mean to you? Like, what did they do to you? Because so many different things.
Yeah, but I found even with the more physical, the cracking or the whatever, usually the feeling after that happens is so
Yeah.
kind of thing. It's like, oh my God, I can move my arm again. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad that you've had that feeling, because 100% that's what it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Like, oh, exactly. It's like, so I said, it's not like the movies.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's now that we've covered the stereotypes and thrown them out the window, let's talk a little bit about some of these different modalities that you work with, and how you kind of combine, and maybe which ones to you have seemed to help people more so in certain types of situations.
That's a great question. So if someone feels very stiff and like there isn't a lot of movement in those tissues, or it feels like kind of sticky, I really love to use a myofascial tool. So that's where it's called myofascial release, because you're creating more blood flow to that area, and you're not going deep. It's just the layer right underneath the skin. And by increasing the blood flow in that specific area, you can be able to help your healing capacity start getting the inflammation to start moving. So that's when someone feels very, very stiff and like it needs to have better motion. So a lot of soft tissue work, like even like trigger point therapy as well. So it just kind of depends on how it feels.
Yeah.
Tactile is really important. A tactile like exam is very important. But if someone feels like, if someone sprained their ankle, or if they tripped and they have like an area that feels very inflamed in the moment, I wouldn't use something that creates extra inflammation specifically. Sometimes I would, but most of the times I don't. I would use something that calms it down. So in that case, I love using a low level laser. So laser is light therapy. It's super comfortable. It's something that you put onto your skin, and it helps to go deep into your tissues and into your cells, and it helps boost up your mitochondria, which helps to push out inflammation as well. So if something's very, very new, like I've used that on a sprained ankle before, I've used that on an area where someone thought they fractured something before, and they didn't, but it just was very tender to touch. Like I can't really touch it. So I would use laser on it, because you don't need to do anything very invasive for somewhere that feels very uncomfortable. So
yeah, that has a really nice warm feeling when you do that too, usually, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, sometimes it can. People can feel a little bit of heat. Normally that's just from the actual device being on your skin. But they'll just feel like they have better mobility. They'll feel less triggered. And it also helps to really boost up your system as quickly as possible. So I actually used that on a patient last week, where she was going on a girls' trip, and she was finally going to see her friend, and she was going to do some walking because it's in a city that she's never been to. So okay, let's do everything possible. Let's put the laser on it. Let's tape it. Let's adjust above it. Let's do everything possible, mostly so you can walk and have a great trip. So that's where I really like that. With some other things, Reiki specifically, I have the ability to be able to tell if something is musculoskeletal, if it feels like it's joint wise, or if it feels like it's coming from an energetic place or a emotional stress place. And that feels very different than when someone feels like something traumatic happened to them physically. So for example, if I have a patient who just had a lot of grief happen in their life, or if something like that happened, if they had a very emotional meeting with a client, their body will hold tension, but it'll feel different. It'll have like a depth to it. It's really hard to explain because it's something that I've really honed in and I've really practiced a lot. And also, thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, family, for giving me the, universe, God, everyone, thank all of them, for just giving me the ability to even tell the difference between things. So that's where an energetic healing would be really important, because it's not something that, yes, it's physical because it's in your body, but it needs like the moment, it needs the time, it needs the acknowledgement, and it needs the introspection. So that's where I feel like what I do is definitely an experience, because it is looking at your body as a whole, as a, we're more than just muscles and bones, and we're heart, we have people around us, we have relationships. And so all those things really affect our own physicality.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too, that sometimes can be a misconception that people have, is that all you deal with are things like strains and muscle pulls and whatever. But I mean, even just if somebody has, like I was just saying, allergies, right? You can help with that. If somebody has, a cold, they picked something up from someplace, just getting energy moving.
Completely. Yeah. I love that you brought that up, because a lot of people don't know that. Yeah. If I feel like I'm about to get sick, that little moment, like the in between, I always get adjusted, because there's a lot of nerves that go to your face, to your brain. A lot of lymph nodes are in your neck and around your ear, and your spine is extremely close to that. And so they actually really interact. So if you are starting to feel a little down, immune system wise, your lymph nodes are going to be very close to the place that you're restricted in your spine. So by getting your spine moving better, now you have lymphatic drainage, all this good stuff for your immune system. And for sinuses and like allergies, I'll do a lot of like facial massage and a lot of like movement into your sinuses. So that's where it's about like kind of getting your body to move the way it needs to.
No, absolutely. Yeah. It's I think more people now understand, but it's still not everybody, that everything's connected.
Completely. Yeah.
They go to a head doctor for something. They go to, I don't know, whatever. It's all, they just pick the little piece and they go to the doctor that does that. Right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It's really, my job would be so much easier if it wasn't connected. It would be so much easier. But a shoulder issue is connected to a hip issue, which is connected to like your lower back, which is connected to your feet, to your knees. And so if anyone is listening to this right now and wants like a bottom line thing to do, 100% go get your posture looked at. That is like so important, because you are a whole, and more than anything, your posture really really affects your body, how you feel pain wise, movement wise. So that's kind of a really, really important takeaway.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. And I know I have found, even just myself, and I think I've been doing this probably my whole life, is just doing this, right, not standing up straight. And so that sometimes I would see myself in pictures over the years, right? It's like, God, do I really stand like that? Oh my God.
You don't know how many times I've had a patient come in because they just went to a wedding, they got the photos back, and they're like, oh my goodness, like, this is really how I look. And then their mom or their family will be like, yes, that is, I've been telling you that you need to go and do something.
Yes.
They finally get a picture back, and it's a candid always. So
yeah. Oh no. Well, and I think the other thing too that goes along with that is that when people go, say, to the gym, okay, and they start doing exercises, They start using the machines and all that, and the weights and all that kind of stuff. And unless you get some instruction from somebody, you can very easily get your whole posture out of balance, because you're just working these muscles, which means that it pulls your shoulders in, or there's just all these things, and most people just have no idea.
No, you're so right that happens all the time as well. Education is important. Understanding who you are, understanding what your body needs specifically. If you have an injury, like yourself, we were talking about this a little bit before we started. So if you have a fracture or an injury, even if it was 20 years ago, it doesn't matter. Your body still remembers. It still holds some tissues. It still has, you have a way that you healed from that moment that allowed you to walk, hold something, pick things up. And sometimes your compensation becomes like your normal, your default. And so when you start lifting weights, going to the gym, doing something that is supposed to be very like, quote unquote easy to do, sometimes you'll notice that you are compensating. But unless someone kind of tells you and sees, you get an exam, then you won't really know.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and sometimes it needs some help, right? Whether it's some sort of massage or something, to loosen the muscles or the tendons or whatever it happens to be.
Completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so many times where I will do an exam on someone who is 50 or 60, and I can tell that they did a certain like they played a certain sport, like as in their college years or in high school, because their body looks like someone who played basketball, someone who played especially like a lot of baseball players, softball players, golf, all those things.
Yeah, well, that's all the shoulders and the arms.
Right. So just like how we were talking, it's just another way that your body remembers.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So do you well, I don't know exactly how to put this, but in prescribing activity, right? Do you have like gym things around in your office so you can show them this are the kinds of exercises I want you to do, or when you go to your gym, ask them to please help you to do X, Y, and Z, or give them sheets or something? How do you work that?
Yeah, so I really specifically love showing someone and having them do it in front of me, and then also recording them so they can have it at home and they can save it, they can send it to their email, they can keep it forever, put it on a cloud somewhere. So in 10 years, they can still remember how to do something that they learned.
Forget about 10 years. How about a week later?
Yeah, exactly. The next day.
Right.
And so you can have that and just be able to know that if they're in another country and they need some help, you have an actual something you can go back to, so you know what to do. But yeah, so I specifically really enjoy breaking it down, checking the movement, making sure it's something that they can do and that it's actually a good thing for them. There's so many times where I'll think that a certain exercise is going to be simple, or it's going to be something that is going to be the most beneficial, and I'll have them do it, and we'll realize that actually we need to modify it, or actually let's do something different. Or maybe it'll irritate them. So I never like to just kind of give someone a one size fits all kind of moment, just because it may not fit. And I want to make sure that what you get is the best thing for you.
Oh, no, absolutely. Especially
to answer your question too, we do have equipment and but mostly things that you could be able to use at home. And especially right now with a lot of people not going to the gym, or just people feeling like, oh, actually, I really liked working out at home, or I really felt it was easy for me. So all the equipment that we typically will have or all use will be things that will be easier to use, or can even like a chair, how to use a different chair to do different things, or different bands. So something that doesn't have to require a gym membership.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I never really did much with bands until the last few years. I mean, otherwise I was always just using weights.
Right. Bands are great. I really like them. They're really, really helpful. Just any type of resistance in the right kind of place and the right kind of movement is actually really challenging.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they've been getting a lot more positive publicity, I think.
Yeah.
To put it nicely.
Exactly. Kettlebells have been bought in the past 2 years.
Yeah, well, because I think a lot of people thought that they weren't as good as using weights.
Right. Exactly.
Not realizing that in a lot of cases it's actually better.
Yeah. Even just having something as simple as like a mat and bands is very, very, you can be extremely effective.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Doorknobs.
Yes, doorknobs. Exactly. Good job. Like having a good door, having it attached to a door. Good job. Yeah.
You have to make sure it's closed all the way though.
Yes, exactly. And it's a good door. It's a nice sturdy door.
Well, that too, but you gotta hear it click.
You have to hear it click. That's true.
Otherwise, sometimes it'll even turn the knob, and then you're really screwed.
Oh no. Okay. Yeah. Don't do this at home.
Unfortunately, that's where I was doing it. Was at home.
Oh no.
And all of a sudden, I mean, I didn't get hurt or anything, but it's just, the band goes down and then the door comes up and
Right, exactly.
Actually, it's scary, but then it's funny.
Yeah. Hit your face.
That's right. You get out of the way really fast.
Yeah. You learn, like, is this secure or not?
Yeah. It's actually pretty scary when that happens.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always make sure that anytime I go home, I always bring some bands, bring some things, just so people can have things at home. Like my family members can have things at home.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Make it easier to do something good for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. So let's talk a little bit about when we all start to age. Okay. And women go through the infamous menopause. Men have their own andropause. And a lot of that has to do with muscle and all of that. I hate to say withering, but just weakening if you're not really using it. And so what are the kinds of things that you like to work with people on with that, to start building their muscle and their strength?
That's a great question. So I think in that case, it's also it's a combination of things. So allowing someone to take things that are important to give them the actual chemical or all the vitamins and minerals that they need. So that's really important. I even just noticed that right next to my desk, I have all my supplements that I take. Immunity, vitamin D, calcium, all these different things that, as me going into my 30s, when I was in my 20s, did I have any supplements? No. Should I have? Yes. But yeah, so I think it's important to work with someone who can look at your bodies and can understand how you're functioning and what are the symptoms that you're really feeling. So it could be dry skin. It could be like
that big time.
Yeah. So those are just different ways that your body is trying to just get a little bit more. That's where you're inflamed, is with the skin. And so a lot of times that can be your gut health. And so when someone is going through menopause, is going through a change hormonally, it's really important to align yourself with someone who can be able to help you nutritionally, but also functionally. So I love functional medicine. I love some type of different supplements. Not all supplements are created equal. So it's very important to make sure that you get a good brand and you get things that are tested very well and are created from like good soil. So I wouldn't go to any type of vitamin D, and it's important to be able to just get it from a really good brand. So I'm not affiliated with any brand, so it wouldn't be like an advertisement from me, but there are certain ones that I really like, and I've noticed are actually really great. And I could be able to kind of explain that too.
Yeah. And let me just interject there. Yeah. And I'm not making any money off of these people either, because they're not that tight. But one of the best places to find good producers of all that is Consumer Lab.
Oh, great. Yeah, that is actually a really good website.
Yes, and they do tests to make sure that what's in all of these things are what they say are in all of these things. And they tell you, yes, this is okay to take. No, that they don't want to take this one. And they do it for almost everything that's out there as far as supplements.
Right. If you would go to a functional medicine person or just someone who specializes in more supplement based or natural based, they would also be able to give you specific brands that work well with what you're trying to accomplish.
Yes.
And so that would be great. I specifically like Standard Process just for certain things, not everything. There's also other ones that I really like, but mostly you just want to go to someone, have them tell you exactly what you need, and that'll help hormonally. Also, since it starts changing, then you're so completely right with the atrophy, if for lack of a better word, or weakness. It's important to make sure that you are creating better activation of your body. So what that means is, I don't like the word weakness. Maybe that's just me being like me, that I don't like things that are weak. But I like the word underactivated.
Okay.
And someplace that's a little more sleepy is what I like to call it. So for example, a lot of people will tend to have more plantar fasciitis. And with plantar fasciitis, or any place that is getting a little irritation, you need to be able to use your body more as a whole. So creating less where your body is only being used in one area. Okay. So one place is being overused. You want to look at where is being underused. And that's going to be different in each person's body, but that's where they'll have less. Where there's a weakness, there's less activation. Where there is too much tightness, there is less activation in another area. So it's all about making sure that your body is being used as like a 360 cylinder. Everything being used from like the front of your body, the back of your body, the bottom, like all these different areas. So when you have these hormonal changes with whatever life throws at you, you could be able to just use other areas to help you do what you're trying to accomplish for the day.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. I kind of the basic thing that's kind of underneath all of these things is just to start being a little more conscious of yourself.
Yeah. I love that.
How you feel and when do you feel that way, and good and bad, right? Not just the hurts, but also, how do you feel after you go for a walk? How do you feel, I don't know, after you take a nap, whatever it happens to be.
No, I love that. That's very true. It's asking questions.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's like, if I'm seated right here, where do I feel myself being tense? Yeah. If after I take a long walk, where do I feel tight? If I'm sleeping, am I able to sleep on one side of the bed versus the other more? Or why do I sleep that way? So all these different questions will be able to kind of paint a picture of like who you are and what your body is trying to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is interesting. So how about some pointers, just for people to kind of think about? Obviously, not everybody has all the same kinds of issues or any of that, but there's probably certain things that you see more than you do other things.
Right. It's so interesting because there's so many little things that I feel like are basics that I've learned that are basics, and people don't even realize that it's complicated. So typically when I see someone and I do a posture analysis, I always have them just stand like very comfortably, like as if they're going to stand in line for a grocery store for a very long time.
Yeah, and not in front of a mirror, otherwise they're going to adjust themselves.
Yes, exactly. Like you want to be comfortable and you're gonna, the line's not moving. How would you stand? And for a lot of people, they'll stand actually with their feet very close together. And it's interesting because if your feet are close together, you're going to overextend your knees. You're going to hyperextend your knees. You're going to lock out your knees, which means that you're putting too much pressure on your knees. Versus if you stand, a tip that's so basic is if you're going to stand somewhere, stand with your feet hip distance apart instead of close together, because then your center of gravity is going to be different.
Yeah.
So when to pay attention to this is if you're in an elevator, if you're waiting in line, if you're just standing, talking, having a conversation with someone, like checking with your feet and look at like, where are they? Are they like super close? Are they really far apart? And just have them be hip distance.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's like super simple that people can do. Knees are a place that people will normally feel a lot of like achiness and stiffness. And because knees like to be the overachiever in your body, they like to just kind of be like, oh, we need to do this. We need a bike. We got this. And that's not their job. They're actually supposed to be for mobility. They're not supposed to be like super crazy. There's other places that are stronger.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, but knees think that they got everything. And so when you're standing and your feet are hip distance apart, you want to soften the knees just a little bit. Not where you're like bent and you're smaller, but where you just feel like your knees have a little bit of a softness.
Maybe like unlock them.
Unlock them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just unlock them and then you'll realize like, oh, wow, they were locked.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that they do that. So always unlock the knees, always have your feet hip distance apart. Even just something as simple as sitting. For sitting, people will typically hunch over. And so if you do this, you can do this with me right now, Susan.
Okay.
Hunch over. Like super, super hunch over.
Yeah.
Okay, good. What I want you to notice is when you hunch over and your shoulders come in more. So have your shoulders come in a little bit more. Okay.
They can't go in anymore.
They can go anywhere. Okay. What that does is you can feel your lower back be really, really straight.
Oh my arm too.
Oh no. So if it's like that and it's very straight, your pelvis is actually tilting backwards into a posterior tilt.
Okay.
That's putting way too much pressure into your lower back. So if you're seated, you want to have a little bit of a curve in your back, not because you're forcing it from your back, but because you actually feel your core activated.
Okay.
So there's a difference between like curving your back and trying to like crush your back versus kind of feeling like raising it up. Yeah. Like you're a puppet on a string and you're just feeling your core.
Yeah.
Like know that it's even there. So do that with me. So hunch slightly and then be a puppet on a string and lift up. And then you'll feel your core.
Yeah.
So that'll allow your lower back to relax and have less overactivation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So something as simple as looking at someone sit, and you can also, anyone listening can just sit down normally, have someone take a picture of you from your side, and just see what you see. It's going to be harder for you just because you don't look at pictures of yourself all the time. But that's something that you can be able to actually change, is just your seated posture.
Mm-hmm.
And as you age, it's really important to be trying to change your spine as much as possible, because that's when people will have like humps. That's when people will just kind of have more degeneration, and it's because you're not moving the way you need to.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I know there's a lot of women as well who, as we were saying, lock their knees, which then throws their pelvis out of alignment.
Yeah, it does.
And that's it's supposed to be a very attractive look, right?
I love that you're explaining that too. Completely.
Well, yeah, I mean, women, that's, models. That's what models do, right? So that's how we were all taught growing up. Oh yeah, that's how you're supposed to stand to be attractive.
Yeah. There's so many times that people, that their cores aren't going to be as activated because the way that you're, the attractive way
to
be standing is with your chest up, which actually stops you from using your core as much.
Okay.
People think like, oh, that's good posture, is having like my chest up, my back is, back.
Yeah.
Then it also changes your rib cage as well. And that actually stops you from using your core. So there's a huge difference of what actually is supposed to, like, quote unquote, people think that's what good posture is versus what's actually good for your body.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. Absolutely. And then there's all the stuff with the supplements and eating right and all of that for your bones.
Completely.
Because they start to really weaken and my mom had very bad osteoporosis. And she was always getting cracks in her ribs.
Oh no.
Her legs were fine, but her ribs, she just like shrunk.
Oh no.
And was always in a lot of pain.
Oh, right. So that's why it's important to like try to do as much as you can
earlier,
as as quickly as possible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, well, I should probably wrap this up soon. So we've been on for quite a while now.
I could talk to you for apparently a long time.
Well, we can always do another one. Don't worry about that. I like having people on more than once.
Oh, great.
So you don't have to feel like you got to, blah it all in one sitting. So yeah, so how about kind of wrapping it up and as one of my teachers likes to say, taking us home on this for, what do you think for men and women? What do you think are the maybe 3 biggest things that they should think about, remember, maybe go have taken care of if they think they need the help?
Yeah, 3 things that would be important is definitely 100% posture. Go get your posture looked at. 2 would be really looking at changing your perspective. There's so many times where I've heard someone who's in their 50s say, I act, or when I go to the gym, I still feel like I'm like in my 20s and I can still do that load, or I can still lift that thing. And that's okay to completely have that mentality, because that's important. And I never want someone to feel like they can, not do something, but maybe have different goals. Instead of your goal being that same amount that you did when you were in your 20s, have the goal be, okay, I'm going to do what feels really comfortable, but I'm going to make sure I'm breathing from my belly. I'm going to make sure my face isn't super tight. I'm not using my neck muscles. I'm going to be as relaxed as possible while doing the hardest thing. So
Interesting.
how can you do the hardest thing very relaxed?
Okay.
And just changing your goals, having you have to obviously have that conversation with yourself, but just figure out different ways to be able to still do what you love, but have a different perspective on it. And the last thing I would really say besides posture and perspective would be just making sure you're as proactive as possible. So if you feel some type of injury, or you feel like, oh, that happened, going and getting it taken care of, stretching, doing what you feel like is helpful for you. It doesn't have to be chiropractic. It could be, acupuncture. It could be PT. It could be massage. It could be just doing something that prioritizes you and allows you to just take the moment to take care of yourself. Because if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else.
Thank you.
So fill up your cup.
That's my message. That's my coaching message is, if you don't take care of yourself, you don't have any energy to take care of anybody else.
Right. Exactly. So take care of yourself, be proactive. If you feel something, do something about it. And,
good.
Realize that we are very strong. We're made to heal. I have an 82-year-old patient that I'm working on right now, and I absolutely adore her. And she's so mentally strong, and her body is also showing that too. So just keep on doing as much as you possibly can to just enjoy your life.
Yeah. And, and it's not just your physical body, the bones and whatever, that all helps. It helps your brain as just as much. And some people don't realize that.
Right.
You can't not do anything.
Your brain.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you can't not take care of your body and expect your brain to be okay.
That's very true.
It doesn't work.
Exactly. They go together.
They do. They're very dependent on each other. So, okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Really enjoyed the conversation and the information.
Thank you so much.
And we'll definitely do this again.
Okay, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah. And in the meantime, I'm going to say what I usually say, which is that I am not a medical doctor. And even though she is a chiropractor, none of this is medical advice. If you're having some sort of a medical issue, please go and actually see somebody, your own doctor, the hospital, whatever is appropriate.
Completely.
So with that said, I will say goodbye, and I will be talking to all of my people next week.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. It's been great.